Welcome, everybody. My name is Denise Fowler. I'm the Director of Career Advancement and Alumni Services for GW's Trachtenberg School. Apologize for my voice. I'm on the end of a cold. I really want to thank Brian Levine for reaching out to us through another alum of ours to share more information about the work he's doing with Former Gov, his organization that he launched. So we are recording this because I know some people were not able to attend. He wants us to be as interactive as possible. So looking for Q&A and as much engagement. With that, Brian, I am going to turn it over to you.
All right, awesome. Well, pleasure to meet you guys. Since we only have a handful, at least so far, maybe we could just go around and it would help me to understand A, where you're located geographically, if you're in the DC area or where you are, and B, what former government experience you've had. And if you can tell us, what you're hoping to do in government or for your career. So, maybe we could go around. Avril, you're alphabetically first, and you're on mute. There you go.
Sure. I'm Avril Clater. I am in the DC area. I
Awesome.
most recently managed grants at the National Endowment for the Arts.
Awesome.
And I don't know what I plan to do next. So I started an MPA, and so I'm exploring that.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. That was perfect, Avril. And by the way, I actually interned at the National Endowment for the Arts when I was undergrad at the University of Pennsylvania. I did a semester in DC, and that was where I interned, and I loved it. So that's so awesome.
Oh my gosh, what did you do there? What department?
Well, it was actually, it sounds somewhat related to what you did, or yeah, we were like working on private sector partnerships and grants through private sector partnerships. So
Sure. Oh,
crazy.
amazing. So
Yeah.
exciting.
All right. Next on my list is Wasim. Would you mind doing a brief introduction if you're there and I'm here? All right. Maybe Wasim is multitasking for a moment. Mindy, you want to give us a little?
Sure. Hi, my name is Mindy. I'm actually for military and I retired from the Army and I'm in grad school right now at George Washington University in DC. Last year when I started the program, I was like my concentration is international development and global gender policy. So the field I intend to work in once I graduate in May may not exist. So I'm just kind of holding my breath and waiting to see. I did an internship at the Senate over the summer, and I'm just looking to see what's possible.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining, as well as Avril. Joseph, are you speakable? Are you
I am. I'm not camerable at the
okay?
moment, so I apologize for that. I am a current part-time grad student at the Elliott School for International Affairs. I guess like a few of the folks on the call was working for the federal government. I was at most recently the Department of Transportation. I did civil rights law. I was an attorney. I'm an attorney. I also did policy stuff. Um, and yeah, so I'm actually in DC for now for school, but I am planning on leaving at the end, after I graduate. I'd ideally like to be up in New York City. I used to live there, thinking that might be the next best place, given what's going on with government. But I'm also curious to hear your thoughts as to location wise, what might make the most sense. And did you say you did the Penn in DC program?
I
Did I?
did. Yeah. Did
Oh,
you?
I did that myself actually back in 2000, oh God, 2005, when we lived at the University of California housing place. But I think Penn right now has its own facility, is what I've heard. So
That's very cool. Yeah, I don't want to date myself necessarily, but I think I did it in 1996 when we
okay.
were using the Boston University's complex, and it's good to hear they have their own now.
I think yeah, it's nice we don't have to be tenants with any other university, so we have our own
Yes.
thing.
Small world.
Yeah.
I'm actually in Montclair, New Jersey right now, because I have some things going on in the city, and I've spent a lot of time in New York City as well. So we can talk about that question as well.
Okay, great.
So yeah, we want this to be as interactive as possible. So thank you.
Thank you.
Stephanie?
Hi, Stephanie Boomhauer. I'm Denise, but at the University of California, San Diego School of Global Policy and Strategy. So I'm
Awesome.
just here to eavesdrop and learn what I can to report back to my students. I will apologize. I do have another call at 9:30, so I will hop off. But thank you for letting me eavesdrop.
Yeah, no worries. And if it makes sense for me to do something for your students in San Diego, or wherever they are around the world, I would be happy to do that too.
Great, thank you.
And Wasim, you look like you're off mute now.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Wasim Sheikh. Like Joseph and a lot of other people on the call, I was working for the Defense Health Agency, and before this, I worked with the VA EHR modernization project, and we had completed our DoD rollout of the update to the EHR program. So I thought we were essential until recently, and that's what brings me here today. It's nice to meet you all.
Awesome. And Kima, you just joined, it looks like.
Hi everyone, how are you?
Good. We were just saying our where we are geographically, our former government experience, what we're hoping
Okay.
to do if we know.
Yeah, so I'm in DC and I used to work for NIH, Center for Scientific Review, and I was part of the first people who had to get out really quickly. So now I'm at Georgetown University, but I'm trying to work my way back into government.
Awesome. All right. Well, so this was great. I'll introduce myself too, of course. But before I forget, you're all more or less in the DC area, and so the first thing you should know is every Tuesday between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. we have this amazing co-working space that's free uh, at the Eaton House, which is on 12th and K, very close to Metro Center, so easy to get to. If you get there early enough, we have free donuts for everybody. Mini donuts, so you actually lose weight, is what I'm told, or what I keep telling myself. They're really good though. Um, Free coffee, free tea, and we have people there. First of all, we get about 40 or 50 people each Tuesday to just kind of hang out and work and be in this amazing shared space. And we're continuing to get more people there to provide services while they're there. So financial planners, um, what else? Resume people, coaches, and people representing other organizations. So I will be there this upcoming Tuesday. The following Tuesday, I'll be in the EU. But if any of you were able to come, obviously you don't have to stay there from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., but it's good to hang out for a little bit. And there are many people who are there all day. It's pet friendly too. So bring your frogs, bring your lizards, bring your cats. So far, the only ones I've seen is dogs, but I'd like to see frogs, lizards, and cats. So if any of you have those, that'd be great. All right. So my name is Brian Levine. I am the executive director of Former Gov. I live in Bethesda, Maryland, with my 10-year-old son and 15-year-old daughter and my wife. Um, it's kind of a long story. I was a practicing attorney for 25 years. I still consider myself practicing, even though I'm not really, I don't have legal clients. Um, I went to Penn undergraduate, NYU for law school, worked in a bunch of big law firms that those of you in law probably heard of. Then had an experience to do a detail as a Wayne County prosecutor in Michigan, Detroit area. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. So I eventually kind of moved into that area. So worked at the New York Attorney General's office in their Internet and Technology Bureau, and then joined the Department of Justice as a cybercrime prosecutor, and eventually became national coordinator for the other 300 cybercrime prosecutors around the country. I left the DOJ in 2019 to help start a cybersecurity and data privacy practice at EY, the large accounting firm. And then in early 2024, I was getting a lot of referral requests for people with former government experience. And I was super excited to connect all these people because I have a very large LinkedIn network. It's about 14,000 people, most of whom fit the bill. But yet I found it shockingly annoying to try and find them on LinkedIn based on what they used to do in government and what they were doing now. So I kept saying there must be a directory out there for former government and military professionals, and I could just find them there. And after a couple of months of proving that there wasn't one, I was like, all right, someone needs to just start one. So I just started one. When I did that, EY was fine with me doing that as a side project. It wasn't a high profile thing, and it was a sleepy idea, really. It was just trying to solve a problem. Um, and one of the problems it was trying to solve was visibility, because as you guys know, when you do government service, you get incredible expertise, and this is military service as well, incredible expertise, insight, specialized knowledge that nobody else has. But at the same time, you have to keep your profile low. So a lot of us don't have much of a social media presence when we leave government. I'm finding a lot of people still don't. We don't have clients, and at least in the old world, and I think it's still going to be true. We'd leave, we'd get some pretty impressive private sector jobs, but when you get impressive private sector jobs, part of what they want you to do is bring in business often. And we're not necessarily in the best position to do that part because of our government service. So that was part of the problem I was originally trying to solve. Then, of course, the new administration came in, and what one reporter keeps calling the purge happened. And so we shifted our focus to trying to be as helpful as we could to everybody impacted by the purge and now the furloughs. And I had to make a choice because my consulting employer had a lot of government contracts and was nervous that if I was doing this from there, it might impact their government contracts. And so I had to pick either the high paying job or the zero paying job. And of course, I went with the zero paying one. So, like, what would you pick? Of course. But you only live once. So that's where we find ourselves now. And we're just trying to do as much as we can to be helpful to the former military community. So I'll show you the site, and I'll talk about some of the other things we're doing besides just the site. The quickest thing you can do while you're sitting there is go on LinkedIn and find us at former space gov and follow us if you're not doing that already, because then whether you become a member or not, you'll get our posts on LinkedIn and you'll see some of the things we're doing. Let's see. Okay, Wasim writes, after removing all sensitive information, my resume is worse than a generic ChatGPT product. So one of the things I'm doing, I'm glad to, yeah, please feel free. In fact, everyone open your chat window. I learned this trick from a professional virtual speaker. Open your chat window, whether you're chatting or not, so that like if you want to write something, it's easy to do it. One of the things I'm doing is once people fill out their profile, I'm meeting individually with everybody in the network, at least until I die or my wife kills me. And during those sessions, this is the kind of thing we talk about. And what I say here is, and we have some professional career, Denise and I lost Stephanie, I think, on my screen. But so they're smarter than I am. This is their field. But my feeling, having talked to a lot of people and career coaches and employers, is that these days, your resume is not going to get you a job. Your resume may eliminate you from a job, but what's going to get you a job is networking. And then if your resume is consistent with what they want to see and doesn't have any problems with it, you may move forward. But I feel like people are unduly spending a lot of energy and time obsessing with the resume because it's something one can do. obviously a good resume is better than a not good resume, but I think spending more time networking and less time obsessing over the resume or actually applying for things is generally the better approach. And we can talk more about that later, if that's what we want to talk about. So if you follow us on LinkedIn, at minimum, you'll see what we're doing in terms of events, and you can join us on those events, whether you're a member or not. As I said, we're trying to help as many people as possible. All right. So I'm sharing my screen, and this is our site for former Gov. The first thing you should know is that if you are not employed right now, and it seems like pretty much everyone on this call is not, then you are eligible for a free year of standard membership. And all you have to do to get that is either reach out to us on LinkedIn or via the contact email address here, contact@formergov.com. Just say you're not currently working and you're interested in the free year of standard membership. And if you're trying to work and after a year for some crazy reason you're still not employed and you need to re-up that, just let us know. We're not. The goal is not to make money from people who have no jobs. The goal is from a monetary perspective, everybody's on it for free. And then once they have a job, hopefully your employer will just cover the cost of being in the directory because it's helpful for them that you have this visibility. But the cost is not that high anyway. So it's not like you necessarily have to have a job. I just know, being in the same shoes, that nobody wants to spend money they don't have to when they don't have a clear source of income. So the idea here is that this is a directory not just for former feds, but former military, former state, former tribal, local, and foreign, any kind of public service experience. So if you have friends through, or you run you run big career centers at public policy schools, some of those people went to the state government or local or tribal. Not all of them go federal. And so all of that experience is valued. And if you have any of that experience, it counts. And it's for current as well, as long as they've had some prior role in government. And almost everybody who works in government has had some prior role, because once you do public service, you realize how satisfying it is. And it's hard for you to do other things. I recognize that. So the idea here when we started it, and still, is for it not just to be about jobs, but about increasing your visibility generally for all these different things that you can see on the screen now. This is in the About section of the site. So potential clients and referrals, a lot of us are, at least in the interim, starting our own law firms or consulting firms, or joining very new ones that have started as a result of what's going on. But whether you're doing that or joining an established law or consulting firm, you need clients. And as a consultant and as a lawyer, I had many instances in which people were reaching out looking for lawyers or consultants with specific former government experience. And in fact, when I was with EY, we lost business to other consulting firms where they had a former X type of regulator, and we either didn't have one or didn't know we should be advertising that as part of our proposal. So this is very important. Employers, obviously, and we're trying to reach out to as many employers as we can to connect them with the directory and let them know they can find people here, employers, recruiters, executive recruiters. We're also, for our members, if they need help connecting with employers, we'll actually make the connection. So my experience is applying to a job today without either knowing somebody you can talk to in the organization before you apply or immediately thereafter is like buying a lottery ticket. Yes, theoretically you might win, but if you're like me, you never have in the past. So you probably won't in the future either. That's why the lottery makes so much money. So it's important to be able to find a connection there. And you can do it through former Gov, you can do it through LinkedIn, you can do it through me. I suggest ideally finding somebody that you have something in common with, same school, same geographic location, same former government experience. It could be anything, same hometown. For me, I just reach out to people and say, hey, I'm reaching out as the executive director of Former Gov. I have a candidate who's really interested in working in your organization. Would you be willing to answer some questions about the organization? And if you feel like they're a good fit, flag their resume for the employer. So far, I have a 100% success rate with that if the person gets back to me. Sometimes they never get back to me, and then I can try someone else. But when they do get back to me, they're like, sure, would love to. Because everybody wants to help with this problem. Board opportunities, I believe every board in the world should have at least one former gov to show they care about compliance and ethics and specialized knowledge. Media, the media is looking to interview us, all of us, and it's so hard to find us, apparently. I can't tell you how much media is like thankful to this site to connect them with people. Arbitration mediation, that's good, I think, for Joseph, who is the attorney in the group. Training and coaching. Oh, we also monitorships there as well. I didn't write that in yet. Training and coaching, speaking, teaching, network and mentorship, nonprofits and pro bono. This all comes down to my feeling that once a public servant, always a public servant. Even if you get a job in the private sector, you're probably going to feel like you want to do more to give back. And these are different ways to do that, including speaking, because you're sharing your expertise. Expert witness, I had no idea how much you can make as an expert witness until I started this. I have a friend who did one gig, it was small, and she made 6 figures from it. So it's definitely something to look forward to. Develop an expertise. I know I should have. And then, of course, peer brainstorming. So these are the use cases for it. And the idea is that searchers who fit into all those categories can come here and they can search using keywords like the ones that popped up below, if you can see those. But we also have advanced search, which is where the power really is, because you can search by practice area, sector, what they're open to being contacted about. And then you can search specifically for their former government role and by what they're doing now, or if you're specifically looking for someone who has no current role. So, for example, if someone was looking for a cyber expert who had a prosecution background, so that's like me. Thankfully, some people are looking for this. You could do cybersecurity there, and then government. I'm pretending to be the searcher right now. For jurisdiction, you'd select federal, but you see you can select state, local, tribal, or outside the U.S. For agency, you'd select DOJ here, and then if you care for function, we would put prosecutor. And position type, you could do appointed, elected, civil service, or military. We're adding to that foreign service and contractor. But for now, if you fit into any of those, you would just do civil service. For function, our idea here is the government titles don't mean very much. So my actual title was senior counsel, but nobody's going to search for that. So these are sort of who are the people in your neighborhood kind of descriptions of what people's functions were, because we think that's more helpful to search by. But if you have some specialized title or you had one that everyone might search for, they could just put that in the keyword search. So then you hit search and people will start coming up right away. I come up first, not because it's rigged, but because I did a search intended to pull me up first. So what I love is in the mini profiles, you can already see your last 2 former government roles, unlike certain social networks or every social network where your former job is hidden completely unless you shove it into your headline. And then if you click on the person or on the view profile, you get a much deeper view of anything you want to know about that person that person has chosen to provide here. This is all voluntary. We don't scrape anything. You have a narrative bio that you can format using headers and things like that, etc. Bullet points. Roles is super important that you actually fill out your roles, because that is how advanced search works. If you don't fill out the roles, you won't show up in the advanced search at all. So take the time to do that. And we'll go through some of this. I have the premium profile, so I have all of these fields. Trust me, I've spent more for the premium profile than anyone ever else will in the history of this site. But a couple things to note. One of the things that's really useful about this is your resume. I understand these days, and I had a professional resume writer do mine, should be one page. And as you could see, I have an enormous amount of different roles over the last 25 years. It's not like I did even just listing the roles would take more than one page, even without all this other stuff like my gazillion presentations I've done. So one way you can deal with that problem is you can use the URL here, formergov.com/directory/ whatever username you select on your resume. And I like using this a lot more than a LinkedIn bio, because the problem with LinkedIn, among others, is that if they pull up your bio, it also pulls up people like you. And I don't want them to look at people like me. I want them to look just at me, because maybe the people like me are better than me. I don't want them to see those people. This will only pull up you. So that's one of the things you can do with this that's really useful. And so I see Joseph's question for later. What do I recommend in terms of networking? Yeah, let me talk about that. But let me get a little further as Joseph himself suggested. So I just want to show you some of the things in the back end. I want to spend a few minutes on your profile, how to build an effective profile, so that you know what you're doing when you go on. So when you'll have a my profile link here. And the first thing I want to show you here is security. So a couple things about security. The first is all the information you provide is intended to be made public. So the payment is through Stripe. We don't deal with them at all. We don't have that data. The identity verification, to the extent we adopt that more wholesomely, will be through other organizations. So all the information you provide is intended to be published with the exception of your email address and your password. So don't use the most sensitive email address in the world. If you have a like secret, embarrassing email address, don't use that one, because the way it works here is your contact information isn't on the site. If someone wants to reach out to you, they hit contact member, then they have to fill out this form where they put their contact information, say who they are, they indicate what they're reaching out about, and they can only click one, so they can't BS you by clicking a whole bunch of things. And then they can put their message, and then the email will go to you, they get a receipt, and you can decide if and how you want to respond to that. You don't have to respond at all. So far, no one has complained about getting too much spam. We also make it so you can't send too many, like you have to send like one every couple of minutes. If you do it, try and do it faster than that, it'll just stop you. So this is how we prevent spam. So security wise, there's not a lot of sensitive information on the site that we have, only your email address and password. But we still recommend turning on app-based multi-factor authentication. So what that is, you're all probably familiar with it. You can use like Google Authenticator or whatever authenticator app you like. It's free. It just means when you log on from a computer that isn't your regular computer, you'll have to enter the 6-digit code. And the reason we have that is not because we have any sensitive information to be stolen, but because we don't want people taking over your identity and impersonating you. Since you've all had government roles, and since unlike Facebook or LinkedIn or the other social networks that are designed to make you go there every like 3 minutes because you need to get your fix, our goal is not to have you here. Our goal is you set it and then you're there and other people come and reach out to you. So if you don't put on MFA and someone takes over your account, you might not realize it for quite some time. So that's why I'm suggesting you turn it on. It's free. The other thing I just want to highlight, because we didn't make it obvious enough, is right here at the top, we can do a first draft of your profile. There's a small charge for that because there's a human who's doing it. But you would just click there and you'd provide up to 2 URLs that they can use to create your profile. If you're not working right now, you have time to do this, but some people don't have time to do this and they're like, I have time to do this, and then they never get around to it and they're like, all right, let me just pay this and have somebody else do it. Your headline, I think, should be short, to the point. We limit your characters to 60. it shouldn't be duplicative with all the other information you have in there. It should discuss at a high level. One person put federal, state, local experience in, and then an acronym I had never heard of. And I just thought that was kind of a waste of the headline because everyone on the site has government experience. That's why they're on the site. And the acronym, if I didn't know what it was, then a small percentage of the population probably know what it is. So, think about that. You can run through AI various ideas and see. For the photo, I recommend a professional photo, either one that you pay a headshot person to take, or you take a photo and use AI to improve it. The AI, I think, is something like $5 or whatever, or it could be even less. But some of the AI photos I've seen are quite good and not easily distinguished from a regular photo. You have a section here on what you're open to being contacted about, and by default, everything is checked because why not here? But if you want to uncheck something, for example, if you're never going to speak to the media, even off the record, then uncheck that so you don't hear from the media, as an example. The biography, I just want to highlight, don't have a huge block of text. Nobody's going to read it if it's a huge block of text. You need headings, subheadings. You can use bold, italics, underline. Don't turn it into a piece of art visually because people won't read that either. But highlight your experience in a way that's focused on the type of opportunities you're looking for. And with a focus on your government experience, because they came here, the searcher came here because of they're looking for some government experience. So that's why I recommend starting with that. But however you want to do it, I mean, there's no one right way. The roles in particular are the one is what I told you should spend some time on. So the way that works is it's the only one that's a little bit different because this is government. So you'll have to indicate it's a government role. You'll have to select, if it is, you'll have to select the jurisdiction. If you select federal, you will still have to select a state, or I still recommend selecting a state because you were somewhere geographically. It could be District of Columbia, it could, but you were still somewhere. Then you'll select the agency. Your agency is most likely on our list. Try different things if it doesn't pop up immediately. It does give you the opportunity, if you just put in gibberish there, for example, to create a new one, but chances are you just missed the name of the right agency. We're trying to make it easier for the searcher because take the Justice Department, for example. If you put in justice, you could see there you go. So here, DOJ doesn't even come up when you do that, which is why I'm saying you need to kind of try a couple of different, there it is, U.S. Department of Justice or DOJ. You could have U.S. Department of Justice, you could have Department of Justice, you could have Justice Department, you could have DOJ, and that's true for virtually every agency. So we try to just have one way of designating a thing so that a searcher just finds that. And we have every federal agency and every state agency here. That's our plan anyway. A district will come up if the agency you select takes a district and if you've selected a state. If you haven't selected a state, you won't be able to add the district. Department, division, or section, title or rank, and then position type. And then you can put in your function here. You can put in several. So if you want, if one of the things you did was investigations, don't go crazy here. I don't want people to have 10 functions, but a couple of functions are okay. These are the function being what did you actually do? And then your description here. So take the time to fill those out because that really matters. Your practice area and sector specialties are separate from your actual job because presumably they stay with you. So it's basically what practice areas do you want to work in now based on your experience, and what sectors do you want to work with now based on your experience. Depending on your job type, you may not have sector specialties. Litigators tend not to have sector specialties, but consultants do. In other areas, other people do. So education, certification, languages, that's all going to be fairly self-explanatory. Projects and representative matters mean basically the same thing, so we're going to collapse them. But if there's specific experiences that you want to talk about, I should say, Standard ends here in terms of fields, languages. All the ones below that are premium fields. So if you just get the standard membership for free, it will end here. When I send you the code, I'll also send you a code for 25% off premium or standard membership. If you can afford to contribute a little bit, feel free to use that code. Judicial appearances / decision makers is a totally new field that I don't think anyone else has because I made it up. And the idea is like if there are people in government now, anywhere in government, that you worked with enough that you could give some helpful advice on how to be successful or how to not be successful in front of that particular person, or how will that person feel about your situation, then list that person there. Like if you just shook their hands in a reception line, or you did a quick project with them but you interacted with them for 10 minutes, probably you're not going to be that helpful with them. The other thing I'll say here is if you have premium membership, you're allowed to put URLs in there. We only have 5 minutes left. Okay, holy cow. Put as many URLs as you can. All right, I'm going to get to Joseph's question now because of the 5 minutes left. And this was about networking. The big thing I recommend with networking is start with your existing network. You can use LinkedIn and all your social networks to produce a comma separated value file of all your connections. You can put them together in one spreadsheet and include the ones from your phone as well. And then you can sort them by how helpful each person can be potentially and how easy it is to reach out to them. And I suggest reaching out to your existing network before you go beyond your existing network. That's the big thing I'd say. And when you reach out to them, this is really important, try and get them talking. Don't try and sell yourself. Spend the entire half hour or whatever the amount of time is trying to get them talking as much as possible, because if they talk the whole time, they're going to feel like it was a really great conversation, and they're going to be like, uh, I got to figure out some way to get Bill on my team. He's fantastic. And Bill will be thinking, I didn't say a thing. But that's what people like. And especially if you're reaching out to people you haven't heard from in a long time, selling yourself is not going to be easy and it's not going to come across well. Let them do the talking and they'll love it. And the other thing I'll say is after each of those networking calls, at the end of them, ask the person, tell the person like, oh, what, in addition to looking for opportunities there, what you're doing sounds great. It sounds so exciting. Is there anyone else you would suggest I talk to if I want to get into this area, either within your organization or outside of your organization? And if you can get 1 or 2 names and then ask if they could make a warm introduction for you because they sound great, but you don't know them, that's really going to be helpful, because I learned only recently through thinking about it finally that the word networking comes from net. And as you build out through this method, you'll be literally building out a net of different people. And that's so helpful because you end up with an army of people who are looking for you instead of just yourself. So you have 50 to 100 people who are looking for jobs for you. They're a force multiplier. But B, you'll be learning every time you have one of those conversations. So even if it doesn't lead to a job, you're going to end up with an interview eventually. And the person's going to say, like, what do you think the challenges would be for you in this industry? And like, you're just going to start saying what Bill told you, and it's going to be spot on. And you're not even going to know where that answer came from. And they're going to be like, wow, Avril has never worked in this sector before, but like, she really knows exactly what the challenges would be. She's like, perfect. So, and it's also not demoralizing. Whereas I find that a lot of people that I talk to are applying to hundreds of jobs, not reaching out to people, and getting, basically one interview for every 100 jobs they apply to on average, which is painful, it's demoralizing, and it's mostly pointless, I think. So what I tell people is if you're going to apply, you got to find someone that you can talk to either before or after you apply. Otherwise, just focus on the networking. That's my approach. And we will drive as much traffic as we can to Former Gov to find you, but we want everyone taking an active approach as well. What other questions do you have? I'm happy to go over a little bit, Denise, if that's allowed.
Yeah, I just like to honor the people's time who are here with us because they had
Yeah.
scheduled 12:45, and a lot of times people have to get back to work and jobs. Does anybody have any additional questions? I'm not seeing anything in the chat.
Yeah, I'll just some of Joseph has a couple of sub questions there. Yeah, and in terms of the last one, is the federal government just not a good option at all these days? I wouldn't necessarily say that. You just have to go in eyes wide open, that there's a lot of issues with working in the federal government these days, including furloughs and uncertainty, and that a lot of people are finding, and I can't give you a percentage, but that what their office is doing is not necessarily the the mission that they had signed up for. Now, hopefully, if you started now, you'd have a better sense of what that mission would be, but you never know these days. So I wouldn't eliminate it, but as a whole sector. But you just have to go in eyes wide open and sort of understand some of the risks if that's what you're going to do. So anyway, it's a pleasure speaking with all of you. You're almost all in the DC area, so I would love to see you down there at the clubhouse sometime on 12th and K, the Eaton House, on a Tuesday. But if you want to join, email me either through the site or through LinkedIn, and I'll send you the discount information. And look forward to seeing you either at the Eaton House or on Former Gov or one of our virtual events.
Thank you so much, Brian, for your time, and for all of you for joining us today.